Welcome to Bite-Sized Bios. This is meant to be a mini-sode that will accompany HDTH. Every week, I will pick a person from history and dive into their lives. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Bite-Sized Bios, BSB. This week we are covering Morgan Freeman. I try to tell you some interesting facts about him and his life. I try to find a narrative, a throughway we can all understand the great voice behind the man. But before we get to that, because this is a mini-sode for how did that happen, we got to kind of just go back and rehash a little bit of what was discussed in last week's episode 56, which was about USBs. Took me a second. I almost forgot there for a second about, the universal serial bus and the flash drive. Learned a lot about them. I learned, and I think as well as you, I didn't know that there was one specific man kind of behind the whole process. And I actually had to watch a few videos to get even to that. I found that information out, I think full disclosure, I think the day I recorded that podcast, which I've been working on that episode for at least 4 or 5 days by that time. But when you read about, read certain articles, they just mention a team of people, or they mention that all these companies got together. But once I started watching videos that were really about, they're about the same thing, but for whatever reason, they didn't cover that stuff. Then they showed that IBM commercial, which I should put up on the website, because I remember that commercial, and it was about like them making the people behind all the technology rock stars. Like we said, nobody made any money off of that invention. It just went into, it's just into the sphere. They made money off of it, but as far as like licensing the technology, which is a big thing when you get into like software and tech like that. That's what makes Microsoft so big. So you can get Microsoft on almost any computer. It's not free, but you can get it. And so that's what they missed out on. But that's what was the point of that commercial. The flash drive was also really interesting. I didn't put as much into there in there about how much that technology is fought over in like Singapore and stuff like that. Like as far as who actually created the flash drive, they had a lot of litigation to kind of just name somebody, but it was a very highly contested thing for years as far as to who actually did it. When the episode came down to it, I just didn't feel like it fit to kind of go that deep into it. But they should make a movie about it, or at the very least a miniseries. Let's see. I just posted another blog post on the website. This one is about the Damar Hamlin football incident that happened a couple days ago. My angle, of course, is from the just the idea that the NFL was more into playing that game afterwards than I thought they let on later on. But I just thought that was, it's up there if you want to check it out. If not, there are other things you can go there for. There's transcripts of every episode. We have videos in the works site from everything showing you where we get the information. But yeah, I don't think there's too much more to cover. This is, I think, the first bite-sized bio of the year. Gonna keep on. This is our 14th. We've covered 14 different people, man. We're gonna keep on keeping on. I had a whole bunch of people that are down the pike. We're gonna keep finding out about their lives, get a little bite-sized bio action. You feel me? So, what we're gonna do, as we're going to do, is just go on to the episode. Morgan Freeman was born Morgan Porterfield Freeman Jr. on June 1st, 1937, in Memphis, Tennessee. His parents were named Mamie Edna and Morgan Porterfield Freeman Sr. Mamie was a teacher, and Morgan Sr. was a barber who would die of cirrhosis in 1961. Freeman was the youngest of 5 children, and I believe he found out somewhere later on in his life that his great-great-grandparents were slaves who migrated from North Carolina to Mississippi, and that's kind of how his main family ended up in Mississippi. He would be sent to live with his grandmother in Mississippi for a little while before actually moving and relocating to the north, specifically Chicago. His family was part of the Great Migration, and if you're not aware of that, there are some great books out there I can direct you to about the Great Migration. At least one specifically. It's called, I believe it's called The Warmth of Other Suns, and it's written by Isabel Wilkerson. But the Great Migration is about when Black people left the South and moved to the North in search of basically more rights or being treated better they didn't always get that, but it's a really interesting. If you enjoy, I don't know, I consider it. I guess I consider it almost sociology like level of type, just the way, because what you can look at, if you look at next time you're watching, if you're not aware of this, watch somebody who, like a black person who's one or two generations removed from the South, and like they in Chicago, they sound somewhat rural. They sound kind of country. It's surprising. You don't expect it. Maybe you think it's just an accent. No, it's because their grandmother was from Alabama. Their grandmother was from Mississippi. But I'm getting off the point. So he basically ended up going to, like I said, Chicago during the Great Migration, and he would live in Gary, Indiana, which is pretty close to Chicago, as well as Chicago and also Mississippi. It was almost by accident, I guess you could say, or by chance, that Freeman got into acting, because when he was in junior high school, I said it that way, as punishment for pulling out a chair from underneath the girl he had a crush on, he was ordered to actually participate in the school's drama competition, which is a very weird punishment when you really think about it and say it out loud. What are they saying when they're saying that acting is a punishment, or that their drama program is so bad that being involved with it is some level of, detention? I never really thought about it, because I've heard the story a couple times, but then when I say it, I'm imagining the principal who's like, "Listen, Morgan, can't have any more of this. All right, don't want to hear it out of you anymore. What we're gonna do? No, I'm not gonna suspend you. No, I'm not gonna call your mom. I'm gonna put you in a play. I'm gonna put you in a play, boy." Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's a little. So he did really well, to his surprise. And he proved to be a complete natural, and he kind of went with it from there. Freeman graduated high school in 1955, but actually ended up turning down a partial drama scholarship from Jackson State University, and he instead chose to enlist in the United States Air Force. He served as an automatic tracking radar repairman and got the rank of Airman First Class. After serving from 1955 to 1959, he moved to LA and began taking classes at the Pasadena Playhouse. And another interesting little dot on his resume is that he worked as a dancer at the 1964 World's Fair and was a member of the Opera Ring musical theater group in San Francisco. Let's go back to the dancing. I was just wondering what kind of dancing we're talking about. Like, I don't know, for whatever reason, when I hear dancing, 1964 and the World's Fair, I just feel like it's not good dancing. That's just me. I don't know. Like, I see him with his hands kind of in the air doing like maybe some finger guns. I don't know. Like, what kind of dancing? What kind of higher dancing do you need at the World's Fair? I've never been to one. I'm not even sure if they still have those anymore. That we should cover that on how that happened, because that is actually really interesting. Hold on, let me write that down. And so he goes from that. I did write that down, by the way. But he goes from that, doing the dancing in the Opera Ring musical theater group, to acting in a couple different things. He does the stage a little bit more. He gets a job as an extra in Sidney Lumet's 1965 drama The Pawnbroker. This is almost where I may find a little bit of it's hard to make this, because like I think I've said this before with other people, and I'm not sure who I'm thinking about now specifically. I mean, maybe it was Chuck Norris, or just you get to a point where you're listing these guys' film credits. I think it's good to list their accomplishments. Let's see, he made his Broadway debut in 1968 in the all-black version of Hello, Dolly. I will tell you, he won an Oscar. I know I'm jumping ahead probably about 20 years, because I mean he acted in a lot of good movies, and he was one of those guys. He was like a Denzel, or a Leo, who just did so many great movies but never got the Oscar. I mean, when you think about it, it is, and everyone, on one quick tangent, it is ridiculous that Leo had to wait until he did The Revenant to win an Oscar. The man has done so many amazing movies, and so I mean that's why we, if you're listening to this, you probably like Morgan Freeman. There's no reason for me to really list off his stuff. Well, he did kind of get one of his things that got him more into the mainstream was in 1971. He became a series regular on the show The Electric Company, which was like a kid's show. His character's name was Easy Reader, and it was a show aimed at teaching children how to read. And so that was kind of one of the things that made him a little bit, you see people's face a little bit more. He goes from because I mean, who really knows Broadway actors? It's cool, and I've been to Broadway, and it was awesome. But like, I don't know any Broadway actors off the tip of my tongue at all. So you need to kind of get into the TV, get into the the actual new media to kind of get in front of people's eyes. In 1987, he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his role in Street Smarts. And then in 1989, he was nominated again for his role in Driving Miss Daisy. And this is really where he became, I don't know if I would call it a household name, but he was becoming, somebody that people were actually very much aware of. And this was in that same year that he did Driving Miss Daisy. He also did Glory and Lean on Me, which are basically all three of those movies are like, if you know Morgan Freeman, are pretty. There's about as Morgan Freeman as it gets. I mean, Driving Miss Daisy, I'm not a big fan of, I'll be honest with you, but I mean, it's cool. And Glory is awesome, and Lean on Me is also a really good movie. He would not win his first Oscar until 2004, and that was for $1 Million Baby, which I'll be honest, I don't even think I've seen. I don't know. Even when I look at like the advertisements for it, they're not selling it. It's a lady who's boxing. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm obviously messing that up. But it was into the early 2000s where his voice work also began to shine and people really became to know him. Like literally, if you go to Morgan Freeman's Wikipedia right now, they have a snippet under his picture that you can click so you can hear his voice. That's how important it is. Think of how many other people's Wikipedias don't have that. When I saw it, I didn't know what it was, but I knew what it was. We'll get to his personal life here. Freeman was married, I believe, a couple times. He was married to a woman named Jeanette Bradshaw. They divorced in 1979. He was married to Myrna Kali Lee. They divorced in 2007. She's 2010. He has 4 kids named Alfonso, Dina, Morgana, and I'm sure there's a way to pronounce this. Saiful. They really went for it on this last one. Saifulai. Yay. It's definitely not it. He raised some stepdaughters. He did have a daughter who was, I think it was his stepdaughter, who was actually violently murdered, I believe by her boyfriend in New York City about 8 years ago. He has places in Charleston, Mississippi, and in New York City. He also has a private pilot's license, and everybody seems to want to do that these days. And he also owns a couple aircraft. Now, before we get out of here, before we end this, I want to end on something interesting about this guy. I mean, because he is interesting, but it's like when you really try to figure it out and look for the way to find a narrative for him, it's hard to say the plot points that I've already been mentioned in a lot of different things. So I'll hit you with a couple of those, and then what I actually have to end it is there's a wiki how on how to contact Morgan Freeman, and I just thought I might share some of that with you, and then we'll get out of here. So a couple bullet points about our man MFJ. He trademarked his own name, which is awesome forethought. That's for the family right there. He's fluent in French. Kind of looks like it. The first film he ever narrated was Shawshank Redemption, and that's where we all fell in love with just my friend Andy Dufresne. Like, you know what I mean? Like Shawshank Redemption is an awesome movie. They say that Tom Hanks was actually, I believe, in the running to get the role he got because in the book, which I've never read, the character he plays, Red, is a ginger Irish guy. So, he really went a different way with that one. But so we'll get to the wiki how, which I didn't know that they had this for these people. I really didn't. So there's like a 7-point process or different ways you can meet Morgan Freeman, and some of them do include phone numbers. But you can go to Morgan Freeman's official Facebook page, right? You can call his agent, for which they do list the number that's listed for his agent he's with CAA, if you're wondering. You can show up at a movie he's shooting, which does not seem likely. Then there's, what do they have here? Movie festivals, right? Or you can hang out in a town that Morgan Freeman is in. So just go to Charleston, Mississippi and hope. You can book him for a speaking event, and I lied to you. I think there's only like 5, but when I saw that, I was like, wow. Like, I have to read it. I don't have any intention or, to meet Morgan Freeman, but if they made a list about it, it must be true and doable. All right, that was another episode of Bite-Sized Bios. Number 14 is in the books, the first episode of the year. We learned about Morgan Freeman's life. We learned that I cannot pronounce one of his children's names. I'm not sure if anybody can. I'm sure somebody can. It's just not me. But yeah, so we learned a lot. First Oscar, an 04 for a movie that I have not seen and probably will not see. Unless someone wants to hit me in the comments and tell me why it's so worth my time. $1 Million Baby. I like Hilary Swank. See, isn't she? She's in it. I don't know. Like nothing. It's Clint Eastwood, Hilary Swank, and I guess Morgan Freeman, right? All right. But yeah. So as always, if you love what you heard here, you can always find more over at hdthappen.com. As always, you will find a written version of what you just heard, as well as photos and videos that help me create the episode. The works cited is up there, so you know I'm not making any of this stuff up. You can see where I get it from. If you want to like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, that'd be awesome too. It really helps the pod grow. Give me 5 stars if you can, but if not, you want to give 2 stars and say why you didn't want to give 5 stars. That is always acceptable. Hope you guys had a good new year, and hope things are going to be good for you guys this year, as well as I hope for me. We're just going to keep on trying to grow this podcast, and there are some other podcast ideas that I'm working out, trying to get out to the masses. See you guys in a couple days with the next How Did That Happen?